coronavirus. There's a lot of news and all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Carling Donahue with the latest on COVID-19. The federal government will be providing an update tomorrow morning on their action plan against COVID-19 as Public Health Officer Dr. Theresa Tam dubbed the virus a serious threat. Ontario continues to lead the pack with the highest number of patients right now. 43 new cases were reported yesterday, bringing the provincial total up to 145. And the Canada Border Service Agency has confirmed that one of its employees at Pearson Airport has tested positive for the virus. Officials add that the location and time of infection still unknown, but all employees who may have come in contact with this individual have since been contacted. Quebec chartered 14 new cases as well, and Nova Scotia reported its first 3 just yesterday morning. The Canadian total currently stands at over 340 people, with most just experiencing mild to moderate symptoms. And south of the border, the Federal Reserve made an emergency interest rate cut to 0, a dramatic step meant to make borrowing as cheap as possible for Americans as the coronavirus brings the U.S. economy to a near standstill. At airports, travelers through the U.S. experiencing wait times of over 6 hours for medical screenings. Keep listening for more updates as they happen.
Then. Now.
Seven Nation Army couldn't hold me back.
And now, random things from the internet.
So it turns out the divorce rates have spiked across China after couples spend too much time together during the coronavirus quarantine. The marriage registry in southwestern China says over 300 couples have scheduled appointments to get divorced since February 24th, which is like triple the amount because people have just been hanging out in close. And imagine there too, right? Like their apartments are tiny, and you're stuck with your significant other for it's been how long now? Weeks.
It's been longer than us. Yeah, I know there was a lot of people that were saying, well, 9 months from now, there's going to be the coronavirus baby boom. I think it'll be a lot of lawyers, and there'll be some real estate agents that'll be involved in this one too, because you got to split all the proceeds in half.
For
right?
sure.
Coronavirus kind of changed how a lot of us are doing things, including sex in brothels. Just outside Las Vegas, there is a place that is remaining open, the Bella's Hacienda Ranch, which looks like quite a nice little place. They're now offering not only Clorox wipes to wipe down doorknobs and bathroom counters and other surfaces that would be shared, but also now customers must wear masks when they have sex.
Really?
Oh, no.
And not like the GIMP masks, not like the ones that Turnbull has with the zipper over the mouth.
No.
Nothing like that. No, but like the surgical masks.
Yeah.
That is some weird stuff, man.
Isn't it weird how when there's something like this going on, people still want to, I don't know, they want to be involved in it or something? Like Netflix released that one of their most popular movies over the last few weeks is Outbreak from the mid-90s.
I thought it was Contagion.
Contagion on iTunes Store is one of the top the top bought. Contagion, but Outbreak, which is like about a medical disaster, and then it was made in the 90s. It's one of like the highest rated ones on Netflix right now. Plus a documentary that's called Pandemic: How to Prevent an Outbreak. So people are just like they're consuming as much as they can about pandemics and outbreaks. And
so people are freaking out because honestly,
they're spooking themselves watching these shows that are dramatized.
Even just on Twitter. Like, I'm watching things about people going out and shopping, and I'm like, man, I don't even really need to go shopping, but I better go shopping.
Like I have to.
I better go shopping.
Panic is contagious. Yeah. It totally is. Yeah.
So is the COVID.
That said she was at the grocery store the other day, and there were people literally climbing the shelves to get something to the top shelf. Like, climbing it. It's crazy.
Freaks. Steppenwolf, 92.1 City.
92.1 City Traffic.
There's a collision Lage near Southside Road. Emergency crews are on the scene. Highways are pretty slick this morning. They're being reported as partially snow and ice covered with some blowing snow, just a heads up. And there is a vehicle in the ditch at the Perimeter Highway approaching Roblin Boulevard. Any other traffic tips, you can let us know, 780 City, or you can text us at 762-555.
Mornings with Rena, TJ, and Turnbull.
92.1 City.
CITI at 92.1 FM Winnipeg is the capital of rock.
92.1 City. Headlines.
Uncertainty continues to rise as the COVID-19 infection spreads across Canada. The federal government is expected to announce its next steps in fighting the outbreak today when the Prime Minister holds a news conference this afternoon. Following a meeting in Ottawa yesterday, cabinet ministers promised big action, but they didn't elaborate. Every province has now been touched by the virus, with 341 cases coast to coast and 1 death in BC. And a 16-year-old boy has died after losing control of his vehicle and colliding with a hydro pole in southern Manitoba. RCMP and Carmen say the accident happened early yesterday morning, about 3 kilometers south of Plum Coulee. Police say the teen was not wearing a seatbelt and died at the scene. 2 other teenagers who were wearing their seatbelts survived with minor injuries. Alcohol is believed to have been a factor. Weather for today, periods of light snow with a high of -6. Tomorrow, mix of sun and cloud, a high of -7. And more snow on Wednesday with a high of -6. It's -6 right now with the wind chill -10 at 7:02.
It's kind of weird just not having any sports to talk about.
There's nothing to talk about in sports.
Not totally true. There is one sport that is still... No, golf's canceled.
Golf's done.
Oh, they did
Masters
cancel
canceled.
it?
Yeah,
No
that's
way.
done. Yeah,
Okay.
golf's all done.
Everything.
Golf would be, like you could do it just for TV because you don't really need a crowd there to create any kind of
And you're like out in
ambiance
the
or
open
atmosphere.
air and you can go by yourself. You don't really need a caddy.
I was thinking the only thing that's still in play is Iditarod.
I'm sorry?
Iditarod.
Who's Rod?
What's Iditarod?
Why'd you do that to him?
Why did I do a guy named Rod?
Yeah.
No, Iditarod. That's dog sleds. Like the dog sled races.
Oh?
Like skijoring. That's another one.
I see.
the dogs-
Those dogs are carriers of the virus, though.
Yeah, but the dogs aren't. No. Oh, no. But that's fine. It's like human to human. They're worried about groups.
Yeah.
Groups of people getting together. Like Iditarod. You can still be towed by a dog. You're not going to get it from a dog. You're more than 6 feet away. You're being pulled by it.
Yeah, but
Are these
they're
actually going on?
Yes, the Iditarod races in Finland.
Oh. Are there crowds?
No, because you're not allowed to have gatherings. But a guy can get pulled on a sled by a dog. That's not breaking any rules yet.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news and all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Charlene Close with the latest on COVID-19.
We've decided to take increasingly aggressive steps to keep you and your family safe.
The Prime Minister announces stricter travel restrictions to fight the spread of COVID-19. As of Wednesday at noon Eastern Time, the borders will be closed to people who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents. There are exceptions for flight crews, diplomats, and Americans. International flights will be limited to 4 airports: Toronto, Montreal, Calgary, and Vancouver. BC is reporting 3 more deaths related to COVID-19, all in the same cluster of cases at a North Vancouver long-term care center where the country's first fatal case happened. That brings the total to 4. Federal Health Minister Patty Hajdu says the government is preparing to ask people to cancel gatherings larger than 50 people. Meantime, in the States, President Trump is telling people to avoid gathering in groups of more than 10 people and stay away from bars, restaurants, and food courts. Keep listening for more updates as they happen.
92.1 City, keeping you up to date with all things COVID-19. Hourly updates at the beginning of every hour, 24 hours a day. Check out 921city.ca for more info. Coronavirus. There's a lot of news and all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Karen Ciolin with the latest on COVID-19. Canada is closing its borders to most foreigners to battle the new coronavirus. But Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says there will be exceptions for flight crews, diplomats, and U.S. citizens. International flights will be limited to only airports in Toronto, Calgary, Vancouver, and Montreal. Anyone with symptoms won't be allowed to board a plane home. These new measures go into effect on Wednesday. The federal health minister is warning Canadians against gatherings of more than 50 people. The move comes as COVID-19 is now spreading within the community in Canada for the first time since the crisis began. In the U.S., that number is even lower. Americans are being asked to avoid gatherings of 10 or more. And even during this pandemic that's changed so many of our daily lives, Canadian Blood Services says it's still in you to give. They say the supply of blood in our country is dwindling and is encouraging you not to cancel blood donation appointments. Keep listening for more updates as they happen.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news and all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Karen Ciolin with the latest on COVID-19. Prime Minister Justin Trudeau says Canada is closing its borders to most foreigners, and the government is limiting international air travel. But Americans will still be able to come into Canada despite a surge of COVID-19 cases there. Foreign Affairs Minister Chrystia Freeland says they will have to self-isolate for 2 weeks, and that's no kind of vacation. Scientists in Seattle have administered the first shots of an experimental coronavirus vaccine to 4 healthy volunteers. The tests leading off a worldwide hunt for protection. But doctors say even if the research goes well, a vaccine wouldn't be available for widespread use for 12 to 18 months. Everything changes for the city of Toronto in the fight against COVID-19 as public health officials say the virus is now spreading within the community. Restaurants and bars are being asked to switch to takeout only. Meanwhile, Vancouver's fire department is preparing to stop responding to the site of non-critical medical calls in order to preserve its resources during the pandemic. Keep listening for more updates as they happen.
92.1 City, keeping you up to date with all things COVID-19. Hourly updates at the beginning of every hour, 24 hours a day. Check out 921city.ca for more info.
Coronavirus. There's a lot of news and all the facts.
On 92.1 City.
I'm Eden Baba with the latest on COVID-19. WestJet says it's suspending all commercial operations for international and transborder flights for a 30-day period. As of today, the Calgary-based airline says tickets for the period beginning March 23rd will no longer be available for sale. And if you're one of those who need help getting home, the federal government's offering Canadians an emergency loan of up to $5,000. Shoppers Drug Mart says all of their stores across Canada are dedicating their first hour of opening to customers who need assistance. That includes seniors and people living with disabilities. And Canada's largest movie chain is closing its 165 locations nationwide in response to the COVID-19 outbreak, including their Rec Room and Palladium sites. The closure will remain in effect at all Cineplex sites until at least April 2nd. The Supreme Court of Canada is putting off the constitutional challenge of the federal government's carbon tax, and the Prime Minister has announced that, with a few exceptions, Canada is closing its borders to people who are not Canadian citizens or permanent residents. In addition, anyone, including a Canadian citizen, showing symptoms won't be permitted to boarding flights into the country. Keep listening for more updates as they happen.